Hello, and thank you for joining another episode on the Brazos River Saints podcast. We had a little bit of a hiatus, but we are back now with Brother Swearingen.
Howdy.
Hi. Thank you for joining the Brazos River Saints podcast. We're happy to have you on.
Wow, glad to be on.
Awesome. So, like I was saying, we'd like to really just get to know each other, and we don't get to have you here down in the ward too much out of the year. So why don't you fill us in and tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right. Well, not a really remarkable guy per se. Just an ordinary, average guy that struggles to make ends meet, and raised a pretty good-sized family, 6 daughters, with my lovely wife Margie. Sure, everybody knows her.
Yes, absolutely.
And we've almost been homeless a couple of times, but we've managed to have great blessings and keep a roof over our head. We've been in Granbury since 1999 at the same house. It's not anything to be real excited about as far as houses go, but it's pretty good. It's good. It was good enough for raising our 6 girls in three bedrooms. You know, Margie and I stayed in one, and we packed 3 girls into one room and 3 girls in the other, and we got along just fine.
Yeah.
Right now, bills being as they are, everybody knows how difficult it is to make ends meet. 4 years ago, I got an opportunity to go up there with John and Mercedes Brady, and work in Alaska. I know a lot of y'all know John and Mercedes. He was a principal up there, and asked if I had just lost my job, and he asked if I was interested in going teaching shop classes, which I'd never done before. Of course, I'd never been to Alaska. It's a little Alaskan village, Eskimo village, up about 36 miles east of Siberia. He was telling me all about it, and I was like, I don't know. But Margie and I prayed about it, and we looked at it as kind of a poor man's mission. You know, I could go up there and be the only member of the church between Mercedes, John, and I, and maybe make a big impact up there. So. And the pay, of course, was great compared to zero. It was really good. So
Right.
So anyway, I've been up there 4 years. I come home for the summers, and looks like I'm gonna have to keep doing it for a while until we can pay some bills, and until the cost of living starts coming down where we can tread water a little bit better. Looks like for the foreseeable future, I'm going to be up there.
Awesome. I think you're the only person I know that comes south to Texas for the summer and north to Alaska for the winter.
Yeah, it gets pretty brutal up there, and then the summers down here, of course. You know, when I tell them what it's like in Texas, they freak out, because to them 60 degrees is hot.
Right.
And to hear that we can get up into the hundreds and above, but it's been a really nice summer, actually. So
yeah,
pretty fortunate. But anyway,
so I have a couple questions. Just hearing you talk about Alaska, with only a few of you there that are members, how do you do church? How does that work out?
Well, actually, John and Mercedes are not there. There were some health issues, and since there's really not good access to health care up there, it's just a little small clinic. John and Mercedes decided they better take a different position on the mainland of Alaska, where they could have access to. They're fairly close to Fairbanks now, so much better facilities. But to your question, we don't have members of the church there. What they have is a phone church where it's the Anchorage It's the Alaska Bush branch, actually, out of Anchorage, and you've got a branch president and counselors, and you've got a release society president and all that, like a normal branch would work, but nobody can meet together. We have to call in because we're calling in from all points around Alaska. It's as far as landmass goes, it's the second largest branch in the whole world.
Wow.
So, yeah, Alaska's immense. You know, it's I mean, we like to talk about Texas being really big, but we could fit 2 or 3 Texas within Alaska pretty easily. It's huge, but there aren't members there hardly at all. You got a member here in one little village and a member in another village, and they're scattered about, and there's maybe 75, families represented. And so we call in, you listen on the phone, and sacrament meeting is, there's a couple of speakers that call in and give their talk. I've given the talk a couple of different times, and then when it comes time to pass the sacrament, they put the meeting on hold, and those that are authorized to bless and pass the sacrament to themselves in their various locations can do so. You have a little sacramental hymn before that, and then a little time to take care of that, and then they come back on air with you on the phone, and you hear the talks, and then somebody gives a closing prayer, and then you go to Sunday school on one Sunday, and priesthood or release society, you call in to one number for priesthood, and sisters call into a different number for release society, and so on and so forth, and you participate over the phone. You can answer questions and ask questions and things like that. So it's a little bit more interactive than the sacrament meeting is, but it's just not the same. When you're home here in Granbury, you get to see people's facial expressions, and you can feel the spirit a little more strongly. I believe. That's been my experience. So it's a little bit difficult, to go for 9 months of not having the good fellowship of the saints. It's a kind of a distant relationship you have with the various members of the branch, and you hear their voices, and you kind of get to where you can recognize somebody's voice, but, it's just not the same.
Yeah, I would agree that being together, there's something special about being coming together in church.
Absolutely, and it even talks about it in Ephesians chapter 4, 11 through 14. For the fellowship of the saints, coming to unity of the body of Christ, and all these things where we strengthen each other, that communication. And plus, our church is a very hands-on church. It's not like other churches where you just go and sit down and listen to a paid minister. We're involved, and when you come on Sunday, you find out what your assignments are, and who needs to be visited, and what projects there are that need to be done, and things like that, and who's bedridden, who's those kind of things. And up there, you can't do anything for anybody because they're hundreds of miles away. So the service aspect is taken away from you up there. So it's a little tougher.
That's interesting. So you also said that you thought of it as like a mission, as a way to go up and do something positive.
Yeah,
for people. So what, would you be willing to share an example or two, or an experience about?
So far, I've been a miserable failure up there. I've come close a couple of times where, I get them to agree to call in and participate on our phone call in, and it just hadn't panned out. It's and then there was another family that we were gonna get together every week or maybe twice a month instead of, not so often, but maybe make it twice a month, where we just open up the Bible and study topics in the Bible together, and then the last minute they backed out of that. So, I've got a few that, through Facebook that sometimes will react to a thing that I'll post, and it's positive, that's about as far as it's gotten thus far. So I really have not had any success to speak of.
Well, whether success or not, I think the Lord knows you're trying, and that's pretty successful in my opinion.
Well, I don't know, but yeah, thanks. It's kind of, I still have a lot of years to go up there, it looks like. So I'm hopefully I'm making an impression. I'm trying to work with them as be as positive and Christ-like as I possibly can. Trying to read the scriptures and pray with the purpose that I can radiate the Spirit, and that it can be recognized, and they'll want to come to see what the source of my strength is, and my what brings me peace in my life. And I'm just hoping that over time we can start to see some success up there, because they really are a prayerful people. And let me give you an example. There was this tropical storm Merbach. I don't know if you remember this one, but 2021. I don't remember exactly what month it was, but anyway, big deal up there. It was moving from the Aleutian Islands, going north towards, straight line towards our island, which is St. Lawrence Island, several hundred miles north of the Aleutians, and it was just barreling straight towards our island, and everybody's watching it. Those people, the Eskimos up there, are very keen on the weather conditions. I mean, it's their livelihood. They're hunters. They hunt whales and seals and walrus and everything, and so they are very keen on the weather conditions. Well, this the path of Merbach went directly west of the island, and Gambel, the town that I'm in, is on the very northwest tip of the island. So it was gonna, we're right at sea level pretty much. Right. So it was gonna destroy large parts of Gambel if it was gonna continue on its path. It did continue on its path, but the prayers of those people, I went out and stood on the beach, the West Beach, and the wind was at my back. It was at all of our backs, and we were amazed, because we knew that the eye of this cyclone, this typhoon, was to our west. It was between us and Russia, and it was closer to us than to Russia. And so everything to the east of that eye is going to get just hammered. The wind should have been in our face and the waves in our face, but it was at our back. Wow. So, God is greater than physics and science and whatever else. If you've got a prayerful people that can pray the winds like that, and that's those people, they're really good people, and they really love their families. And of course they have a lot of the problems that natives have, with alcohol and things like that. There's a lot of problems associated with alcohol abuse and such, but their hearts are so good. They're so loving towards their family members when they're not drunk, Right. They're just amazing people. But that kind of faith. So I know there's going to be great things happening up there.
Oh yeah, that sounds like that's an awesome story. Yeah. It's just a reminder that Latter-day Saints, we don't have a monopoly on blessings from the Lord by any means. No, not at all.
Definitely not. I think there's going to be a lot of baptisms. I don't know how it's going to happen, because everything's frozen up there most of the time. But we'll figure out maybe a kiddie pool, get it shipped in from Walmart or something, and start baptizing it there. I don't know.
Figure a way out. Yeah. So have you always been a member of the church? Or you?
No, but Technically, you could say. I mean, I was baptized at 8. You know,
Okay.
My parents joined before I was 8. When I was really small. I'm still pretty small, but you know, they joined when I was really young. So it's. I mean, I do remember some of they were First United Methodist, and their family is all very strong, either Methodist or Baptist, and I would spend my summers with my grandparents out in Port Arthur, Texas, and they'd take me to their church, or they'd take us to our church. You know, it kind of depended. You know, but finally, my mom got her way, and they were taking us and dropping us off at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints there, and it was in Beaumont at the time. They had to drive a little ways. That was quite a sacrifice for them to do that for us, because they really were not keen on us being Latter-day Saints, you know. So.
Well, that's awesome they did that for you, though.
It is. Yeah. It really is. Yeah, my brother and I would spend our summers there with them. I had one brother and one sister. They're still alive, and we used to really look forward to summers over there with them. And, you know, we grew up in El Paso. They put us on a train from El Paso all the way to Beaumont, and then we'd spend our summers there. They'd love to get rid of us for the summer.
Right.
But we loved being with our grandparents, so it was a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, I've got good memories with my grandparents too. So.
Yeah. But I did not like the church. I grew up a rowdy little kid that just did not appreciate what I was being exposed to, and I rebelled against it and bucked it. I hated being in church, and I'd fight my parents, and I'd get my ear twisted in church, and I'd get taken out and give a good spanking, and you know, because I was just a real turd. And that continued, of course, in my teenage years, and I was rebellious and everything. But my mom's mom, she joined the church, and she became active. My parents were super active. My dad, they had ward missionaries back then.
Yeah.
He served a ward mission for 3 years, and him and his companion worked in El Paso mainly. And they baptized over 200 people.
Oh, wow.
Which is amazing, yeah. So my dad and my mom were on fire, and that made it worse for me, because I did not want anything to do with any of it. But anyway, my mother's mother, she, after I graduated, I was floundering. I wasn't going to school. I wasn't working a good job. I was just at McDonald's flipping burgers, and I was the bun man at McDonald's, man. And she said, "You're wasting your time. You're wasting your life." So yeah, okay. Well, let me pay for your first year of college and get you a taste of college. She had money, and she was the only way I was going to be able to go to college, because my parents weren't going to be able to pay for my college, and I certainly couldn't, you know. So I was like, She said, "Well, I'll send you out to Las Cruces, which is 45 minutes north of El Paso. I'll pay the tuition, I'll pay the room and board, pay for your meals. All you got to do is put in 1 year. You know, 2 semesters there, and get a taste of it. If you want to keep doing it, we'll talk about that then." Well, yeah, okay, I'll try that. You know, a chance to get out of town and go see some new girls, and stuff like that, and try a new life. I was getting kind of burned out there at McDonald's anyway, so she sent me up there, and but I did not know what she was doing behind my back. She went up there and talked to the bishop, a guy named Gordon Ewing, who was a professor at New Mexico State Chemistry and Chemical Engineering. Great guy. She's kind of put a bug in his ear to keep an eye out for me, and see if he can find a place where he can stay with at least one return missionary off campus, maybe, or whatever. So they found a place for me with a return missionary and then another freshman like myself, and she got with that institute director. There was an Institute of Religion there off campus, a guy named Kenneth Ray Call. And she got with him and had him keep an eye out for me too. And she didn't tell him things. I was doing some stupid things. Okay, as you can imagine, what a rebellious teenager does.
Right.
I was doing the stupid stuff that a rebellious teenager does. So I wasn't looking to go to church. But she said, you need to at least go to church once a month. You know, just go. And all right, whatever. That's part of the bargain. I'll do it. Anyway, there might be some pretty girls there. And so I go in there, and sure enough, there's this, in the institute director's office, he had a secretary who just glowed. She just had this aura, this light about her that was so warm. And I was like a moth attracted to that light. So I went over to her and started flirting with her, you know, which she put up with me. I was a stupid little freshman, and she put up with me. She was 25 or 26 years old. Anyhow, after a while, found out that she had a roommate who was a return missionary. She was a return missionary, and her roommate and her invited. I had made a friend with another freshman who was another clown like me. He wasn't serious about church or anything.
Right.
They invited us to come to church. And they invited us to come afterwards to eat at their house. And if we could memorize the scripture during the week, we could come back the next week and have another barbecue or something. So yeah, food. So yeah, sure, I'll memorize the scripture. I don't care. Well, long story short, they got into great scriptures with us, missionary scriptures, and that particular branch or ward, institute ward, was a very high-powered spiritual ward.
Right.
The people had a real focus. During the week, you're going to be praying that this Sunday is going to be a very big spiritual feast. And they would reactivate or baptize people all the time. And the spirit, they were so strong. So I signed up for a institute class. The institute director would have us laughing one minute and crying the next, and the spirit was always so strong. So after a while, you know, after a few weeks, I realized, you know, this is where the happiness is. This is where the gospel really lives. These people are true Christians. There really is something to this. I don't need this other stuff. I don't need anything to be happy, because if I just keep it simple like these people have, find out how to have simple fun, good simple fun, and have a relationship with Christ, then I'm going to be truly happy like these people. So I gave it a try, and so did my friend. And we were regulars, you know, and we got to go to a young adult conference in Albuquerque, you know, 4 hours north. 3.5 or whatever, but it was a young adult conference, and along with us was you know, quite a few of us young adults, a lot of freshmen, and this one guy that was from Mexico. He couldn't speak a lick of English, but he wanted to come too. You know, like I said, people were getting baptized and getting reactivated and everything, and so he came along with us, and this young adult conference was like these for the Strength of Youth conferences and things like that. And I know I told this story probably last month in my testimony, I think, about the time that Mexican got up there and bore his testimony at the end of that conference.
Right.
You remember that?
I remember vaguely.
Yeah.
But you should tell us again so we can all remember again.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was so inspired that he got up there. He didn't know anybody. Just, you know, he rode up there with us, and it was his first experience with the church. But he got up there and bore his testimony. And I was sitting next to my buddy, and I go, "Hey, is he speaking Spanish?" And my buddy said, "Yeah. Are you understanding what he's saying?" "Yeah, me too." I mean, we were understanding everything he was saying, and he was speaking pure Spanish. I didn't speak a lick of Spanish. Neither did my friend, but it was incredible. and the Spirit was so strong. And so that's when I really decided, okay, you know, I am going to go full out, 100%. I'm in. This is the truth. This is God's real. It's the first time I ever, you know, really realized that God was real, and it was the way that these people were living, and the feelings you got in those meetings and classes with the institute and everything, and then this conference and just that miracle. There was just no denying it. So I was like, I've got to really act right, get myself right, go on a mission. This is the path. You know, I'd never felt it before. I grew up in an argumentative home, a lot of contention. Never felt the Spirit at home. There's only one time I felt the Spirit that I can remember, and I didn't. I'm not the sharpest guy in the world, right? So you know, that time that I felt it, I didn't make the connection. And okay, you know, my dad's speaking the truth. That's where I need to go, and not disregard him like I've been doing all my life. You know, but I didn't make the connection at that point. So, but anyway, I can testify. There is no happiness in living outside of the precepts and doctrines and ordinances of this church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. God is definitely real, and He can provide you everything you need. The happiness, the joy, the peace, the comfort. You cannot find it anywhere else. It does not exist in any of the stupid things the world has to offer. There's nothing in the world that can beat Jesus Christ. And I'm so thankful for that gift that my grandmother gave me to give it a try. And so it changed my life.
Wow. That's an incredible story.
She was a great lady, and we got a great God.
Yeah.
I'm not a remarkable guy. I'm just an ordinary, average. I don't have much to contribute as far as, you know, man, I've got all these accomplishments I'd like to talk about. No, but I can talk about Jesus.
That's worth more than everything. And to be honest with you, that testimony you just shared, that contributes more than I think that I can express anyway. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But you answered most of my questions without even me having to ask them.
All right. Good deal.
So we'll end with just one, because I try to keep these little, you know, so they don't drag on too long. But
yeah,
just one more question. Just tell us your thoughts about the Book of Mormon. When did you find out that this really is the Word of God, and maybe a part of it you like the most?
Oh man. Well, ever since that time, you know, they had those girls, those young women, returned missionaries. They had us memorizing scriptures every week, and you know, they got me started on reading the Book of Mormon. You know, and ever since then, of course, through my mission, I continued reading the Book of Mormon along with the other standard works and missionary, you know, tomes that they ask you to do. And it's been something that, you know, if we're studying the New Testament, I'm reading the New Testament and the Book of Mormon. This year we're studying the Doctrine and Covenants, well, I'm also reading the Book of Mormon. You know, it's been that way my whole life. So I can't tell you how many times I've read it, but, you know, admittedly, I'm not the sharpest guy in the world. I'm not a scriptorian or anything like that. But the feelings that I get, and the understandings that I get from the Book of Mormon, I cannot live without. You know, it is the very essence of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so, as far as favorite passages go, oh man, there's so much. Of course, you know, I love Christ's visit to America.
Right.
I love Ether chapter 12. I love Alma. 32. Those are basics. I love 2 Nephi 31. There's just so much in the Book of Mormon, and I would encourage everyone to make it a practice to always read the Book of Mormon, no matter what it is we're studying. Even if it's just maybe a chapter or two, or 30 minutes of the Book of Mormon, or whatever time you can make the time to read the Book of Mormon and study it, because it's like, I forget who said it. I think Joseph Smith said it. By reading the Book of Mormon, you can grow closer to God than by any other book.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. It's so true. The times that I don't read the Book of Mormon, I falter. Like I faltered here recently. This last week, I went for 3 days without reading the Book of Mormon, and on the 4th day, we were popping firecrackers. It was just the other night. It was the 5th of July. My neighbor got out there and got horsey with me, and I kind of reverted back to my carnal nature for a second there, and I was coming up with plans of what I was going to do to this guy, and whoa, wait a second, that's not me anymore,
Right.
So if I fall out of my habit of reading the Book of Mormon, I quickly slide into the carnal man, and that's not good. That's not good at all. So just recognize that there's great power in the Book of Mormon to bring you to doing the things that bring true fulfillment and joy, and takes you away from being the carnal, natural man, and more of a spiritual person, and that's essential, especially in these times.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Brother Swearingen, it has been fantastic having you on today. I've been absolutely pleased and happy with with your testimony and the things that you shared. I think it's awesome.
Thank you.
And you keep saying you're just a regular guy, but man, you got something. You got the Spirit with you.
Well,
that's what matters.
it's all God, and,
Yeah.
I mean, He's everything, and I'm just a regular guy. Really, I've been hit in the head too many times to be much more.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us on this episode of Brazos River Saints podcast. We'd like to have you on next time, but goodbye for now.